today is Yahoo, and no, it is not an early Stampede talk. You'll know when I know it's Stampede. But I want to start out by telling you a story. So there's these craps dealers in Las Vegas. And, you know, they're kind of bored. It's kind of a slow night. Not that many people are coming in to shoot the craps. And all of a sudden, this woman comes in. She is gorgeous. She's one of those women that, I mean, man and woman alike are just like, you know, she's just absolutely drop-dead, gorgeous blonde. And she comes in and she says, you know, I want to play and I don't have very much money, but I'm going to put everything I have on this, right? And they said, yeah, sure, that's okay. You know, she's good looking, right? And she says, but I got to tell you something. I feel lucky when I'm not wearing anything. So if it's okay with you guys, I'm going to strip down and I'm going to shoot my round and I'm going to be naked. And the guys are like, all right, well, okay, whatever. So she strips down and she's taking the knives, right? She's ready to roll. She goes, come on, baby, and she throws her rice and she goes, oh, I won. She takes all the money and she splits. And the dealers look at each other and one said, what'd she roll? And the other said, I don't know, I thought you lost it. Yes, you're in church. So not only is that a kind of a cute story, kind of naughty, because I have a reputation, you know, but it actually ties in with my talk today, because in this case, the word Yahoo is an acronym for a great spiritual truth, but one that we very often forget, especially when we are in the midst of life. You know what I'm talking about? I'm not talking about life with a capital L, which means God. I'm talking about life, when we're in the midst of it. And the acronym for Yahoo is, you always have other options. You always have other options. So often what happens is that when we're faced in a difficult situation or something challenging, we think to ourselves, there's nothing else for me to do here, or I don't see any way out of this, or I guess this is my lot in life, or the worst one of all, I have no other choice. Anybody ever said any of those phrases? Yeah. And because we're looking at the situation straight on, we're not seeing any other options. We've only got one perspective because we're just seeing it in one way. And so we have those limiting beliefs and we believe that they are absolutely true because it's all we can see. So there's a well-known teaching story. I'm sure Dr. Carroll has shared it with you about the 6 blind men and the elephant. You know the story? Okay. Once upon a time, there lived 6 blind men in a village. One day the villagers told them, hey, there's an elephant in the village today. Well, they had no idea what an elephant was, so they decided to go and feel it, even though they couldn't see it. So they all went to where the elephant was, and each one touched a part of the elephant. And one man touched the elephant's leg and said, hey, the elephant is like a pillar. And the second one said, oh, no, it's like a rope, because he was feeling the tail. And the other one said, oh, no, it's like a thick branch of a tree, because he was touching the trunk of the elephant. No, it's like a big hand fan, said the fourth man, who was touching the elephant's ear. No, it's like a huge wall, said the fifth one, who was touching the elephant's belly. No, it's like a solid pipe, said the sixth man, who was touching the tusk of the elephant. So they began to argue about the elephant, each one insisting that he was absolutely right, and they're starting to get agitated, right? And then a wise man passes by and he says, what's the matter? Why are you all arguing? And they said, well, we can't agree on what the elephant is like. Each one of them told the wise man what they thought the elephant was like. And the wise man said, well, the truth is, all of you are right. The reason is that each one of you was touching a different part of the elephant. So actually, the elephant has all of those features. Now, the moral to that story is that when we are looking at something with just our current way of seeing things, we think that we don't have any other options. We think that it becomes all that we can see. Is this making sense? But when we understand how the universe works, we realize that you always have other options. Always. Say this with me. Yahoo! Yahoo! All right, see, you are Canadians. So here's what's important, though. It's important to actually recognize and to understand, acknowledge that you do have other options. Because if we think that there's only one way, if we think that there's only one choice, then guess what? There's only one choice, because our teaching is all about it is done unto you as you believe. So if you think you only have one choice, then you only have one choice. Yes? Make sense? But when we train ourselves to believe that there are other options, even if we can't see them at the time, and that's the key, is that we can't see them at the time, what happens though is we believe that we have other options, it opens up other channels for those other options to make themselves known. So instead of judging by appearances, we allow ourselves to believe that we are in a field of limitless possibility, and that we're sitting in the midst of it, and because we're open, and because our minds are open, then other options and other ideas and other possibilities come in. So let me share with you what Ernest Holmes said. In actual practice, this means that we rearrange our thinking in such a way that we permit new ideas to flow in. The ideas, fears, and tensions that obstructed this flow are released. The stream flows free again. Everybody go like this. Because it seems really nice in theory, but how do we actually do this? Especially when we're right smack dab in the middle of it, whatever it is for you right now. How do we rearrange our thinking, especially when the appearance is and everything is telling us that it's that thing, that it thing is a certain way? Well, let me tell you one of the things that I do. This is one of my spiritual tools, one of my practices. When I'm feeling stuck about something, or I'm feeling as if I don't have any other options, because I believe in the power of my mind, I believe in the power of thought, what I do is attempt to raise my thoughts above the situation. I'm going to give you a technique how to do this. Raise my thoughts above the situation and be able to see it from a higher perspective. So if here's my issue, mentally I try to raise myself up so that I can see what else might be happening, what else might be feeding into that. So I'm trying to raise above the appearance and see the other options. Because when I see it from my current state of awareness, when my current state of consciousness, I can't see anything but the situation. In our practitioner class, we call, what did Tracy call it? The octopus syndrome. When your issue is right here, you can't see anything else, right? Maybe it was a squid. It was something like that. It was some icky thing. Okay. So if I raise myself above it to see it more clearly, I can see what else is going on. Let me share with you what Einstein said. This will shed some light on it. We can't solve the problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. Right? The consciousness that we are at now is what has created what's going on in our life. So we have to do something different. We have to raise our consciousness. And by raising our consciousness above the situation, after I've whined and fueled and complained, because I do that, you know, I love to wallow. I do. I love to wallow for a little bit. I see who's laughing. I see who's relating to that. Okay, so after I've done that, then I lift my consciousness up, and it shifts my consciousness, and I can see the other options. So let me share with you, this is a true story. Just happened fairly recently. You know, if you're new here, you may not know that I just moved here to Calgary from California a little over a year ago. And for the life of me, I could not figure out the city. People kept telling me how easy it is to get around the city because it's in these quadrants, right? But I could not see it. I could not picture it. I could not have an idea of how the city was laid out. So I would learn how to get places, like to the gym, and there was only one way to get to the gym as far as I was concerned. It was to go this way, or to the grocery store, right? Because I didn't have any other options because I couldn't see it. I couldn't get my mind around it. And then last September, my sisters came to visit, and on our last night, when they were here, we went to the top of the Calgary Tower to have dinner. And we walked around the observation deck. And for the first time, I was able to actually see how the city was laid out. I was actually able to see the grid. I was actually able to picture what people were talking about, northwest, southwest. I mean, you know, I didn't get it before that. And then once I was able to see it from above, it made sense to me. And now I can find my way around the city pretty darn well. And I could also see how I had been making my life so difficult because I didn't understand the logic of getting around the city. But seeing it from above made all the difference. Make sense? Make sense? Okay. So it may seem rather elementary, but it actually works, so we're going to try it right now. I invite you to close your eyes for just a second. Close your eyes. I want you to think about a situation or circumstance in your life where you feel as if you only have one option. You only have one choice. Okay? I want you to feel the situation as it is right now. Now, in your mind's eye, imagine that you are climbing into an elevator and the doors close, and you press the button, and it starts to go up several stories high. And now it stops, the doors open, step out of the elevator, and look at the situation from a higher perspective. Can you see? Can you see it? Can you see how you got there? Can you see where you are in the situation? Can you see from that elevated viewpoint the other options, the other ways of handling the situation? Okay, now open your eyes and say, Yahoo! Yahoo! You always have other options. I really want you to see the picture. That's from the Calgary Tower. Right? I planned it that way. So cool technique, right? I actually use this technique, I'm telling you this, but the question then is, how do you do it on a regular basis? How do you, it's fine if I'm instructing you to do it, but how does something like this become second nature so you automatically, or after you've whined and complained, remember to do it? Well, believe it or not, after I've just been talking about you always have other options, I only know of one option to get to the point where this becomes second nature, where this becomes something that you automatically do. And that is, oh my God, practice. You've got to practice it. You've got to do it until it becomes natural to you. You have to practice rising above the situation. You have to practice the art of seeing things differently. Because if we don't, then we're going to continue to see things in the same way that we've always seen them. We need to practice looking at things from a higher perspective. And one of the best ways that I know how to do that is through the technique of affirmative prayer, of what we call spiritual mind treatment. Don't let the name freak you out. It's actually a really cool thing. Because one of the things that sets affirmative prayer or spiritual mind treatment apart from traditional prayer is that it is done from a place of oneness with God, not separation and not duality. Instead of saying, oh, please, dear God, please give me other options. I know I'm not really deserving because, oh, I ate that piece of cake last week. But, I'm really, 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 no. We are doing it from a place of unity and oneness with God. So then when we do our spiritual mind treatment, we start out by affirming that God is all there is. Say that with me. God is all there is.
God is all there is.
And then we unify ourselves with it. And I am one with God. Say that.
I am one with God.
Think about the power of that. We talk about the one power. Think about the power of that. Just doing that is bound to raise your vibration. It's bound to raise your perspective because you've just recognized God as all there is and unified yourself with it. And then simply by knowing that the power and the presence of God is what you are, is where you are, is who you are, takes you to a completely different level of awareness. Do you feel different since you just said that? Come on. Yes. Yahoo! No. Let me share with you another Holmes quote. The primary step in spiritual mind treatment is an awareness of God. The person who gets the best results is the one who has the most complete conviction of the divine presence and the deepest consciousness of spiritual harmony. The treatment must embody that inspiration, that feeling, which comes alone from the source of all life. The treatment must touch the seamless robe of unity and wholeness with conviction and feeling. The higher the spiritual awareness, the more power will flow through it. Now, of course, the other steps of treatment are very, very important. We've got realization, thanksgiving, and release. They are very important, but they are more action steps. They're more about directing the law. If you want to know what I'm talking about, you need to take classes, because this is when we teach about spiritual mind treatment. But I needed to talk about it today. So those other steps direct the law, but those first two ones come in those first two, or the real consciousness expansion comes from those first two steps of treatment. In fact, I'm going to encourage you all to practice this week, okay? I'm going to encourage you to practice. I want you, when you wake up in the morning, when your alarm goes off, instead of saying, "Good God, it's morning," you're going to say, "Good morning, God." And then you're going to say something along the lines of this: "I now recognize God in everything, because God is all there is. That means God is in me, through me, and around me. I am one with it." Let's say this together. I now recognize God in everything, because God is all there is. That means God is in me, through me, and around me. And I am one with it. I'm one with it. Yes, okay. And then go about your day. You've already recognized that God is all there is. And you've unified yourself with it. And then go about your day. And one of several things may happen. You may find that you are much more conscious about what you say and what you think, because you've recognized God as all there is. You've unified yourself with the divine. And so those non-life affirming things that you sometimes think about yourself or others on the freeway as you're driving to work, you're going to be thinking to yourself, do I really want to affirm that? I've just recognized God is all there is, and I've just unified myself with God. Is this something I want to manifest in my life? Because from that simple awareness comes a new way of thinking, a new way of experiencing the world, a new way of seeing. When you do this, you are literally raising your consciousness. And Emerson said, prayer is the contemplation of the facts of life from the highest point of view. Prayer is the contemplation of the facts of life from the highest point of view. That's what we're talking about. And starting your day off recognizing God is all there is, unifying yourself with it, there's your prayer. There's your prayer. It's simple. Is this making sense? It's making sense to me. So, okay. So here's another thing that might happen for you. Because you've opened yourself up to this higher point of view, to this expanded point of view, you're going to find that where you used to think there were no options, you're going to find that there are indeed other options. You're going to find from seeing it from up here that you can see new and different ways of doing things that you didn't realize were possible. Because you've opened yourself up to a higher vibration. You've opened yourself up to a larger field of possibility. You're not just stuck with one way of seeing things. So often what happens with us, with our human minds, is that we respond to a situation by using our past experience as a gauge, right? Oh, because this feels familiar, so this must be my only option. Or this feels familiar, so I'm going to respond in a similar way. But when we unify ourselves with this limitless possibility, we realize that we're not bound. We're not bound. Ernest Holmes says we are not bound by principle, is not bound by precedent. In other words, we're not bound by what used to be or what used to not be. And believe it or not, that makes sense. You need to get the tape to make that one make sense. We are not bound by what was before, because when we raise above things, we are able to see things from a new perspective. Like my story about the girl at the craps table. Remember that one at the beginning of the talk? Yeah? You know what? She was a religious scientist, I'm sure of it. And she started out her day recognizing that God was all there is and unifying herself with it. And then she's found another option to increase her abundance.